8-hole flute, 7-hole flute, plastic flute, bamboo flute, medium sized flute, bass flute. Are you finding it overwhelming to buy your first Carnatic flute? Don't worry. Today I have with me Santosh, who has been playing professional flute for more than 2+ years. He'll help us to buy the first Carnatic flute. There are two kinds of flute. One that is used in South India, which is called as Carnatic flute, whereas the other one is used in other parts of India. It's called as Hindustani flute, also known as Bansuri. Both flutes have one blowing hole. The Carnatic flute has 8 finger holes apart from a blowing hole, whereas Bansuri has 6 finger holes and 1 tuning hole. Generally, the thickness of Carnatic flute is thicker compared to that of a Bansuri. You can get Carnatic flutes made in wood, plastic, sometimes even in glass. A Carnatic flute is always made of bamboo, and more importantly, it has a natural note. Sometimes you will have a cork near the blowing hole, but Carnatic players who have learned formally will always prefer flutes with natural notes.
The sound or the note that each flute produces actually differs. So let us play Sarigama Padanisa in a C scale flute. So this is a C scale flute. Now let us play the same notes in the smallest flute, which is B scale flute. As you heard, the notes played in a C scale flute is slower, whereas the notes played in this B scale flute is higher. So between all these flutes, you have all the notes that you can play any song. So this full set is a middle octave flute set. You would have seen longer size flutes played by the famous flautist Shashank. So those longer size flutes produces bass notes, and this octave is referred to as the lower octave. So this is a G sharp bass flute. Now let us hear how it sounds. So if you want to play a classical piece like the legendary Dr. N. Ramani like this, you need a D sharp scale flute. Now if you want to play a A. Rahman classic song Hamma Hamma, you need a C scale flute. Or else if you need to play a Ilayaraja classic like Ilayanila, you need a C sharp scale flute. So technically, if you need to play any song, you need a collection of 12 flutes and a few bass Carnatic flutes. So collection of all these flutes is called a flute set. If there are so many flutes, which is the best choice or the first flute one can buy if you want to start learning a Carnatic flute? So the best choice is basically where the individual can move their fingers across the flute more comfortably. So if you are an adult, you can pick a D sharp scale flute, or if you have shorter fingers, you can pick an E scale flute. If you are buying for kids, for teenage kids between 8 to 15, you can pick F scale flute, and for kids between 6 to 8, you can pick a G scale flute. But over a period of time, you may want only one flute in each scale, so that you are able to play any song in the original scale that the song has been recorded. Make sure that the Carnatic flute is tuned, meaning that it is able to produce the notes of each scale perfectly. So if you are buying a D sharp scale flute, the notes have to be D sharp, F, G, G sharp, A sharp, C and D. Make sure that you use a professional tuner to check if the notes sound properly when they are played. You will find the majority of the cheap flutes that you find in the market fail this test. Alright, finally, before buying a flute, what are the points you have to keep in mind? Make sure you have 8 finger holes in the bamboo flute along with the natural note. Also, make sure whether you are able to move your fingers across this flute more comfortably. Last but not the least, pick a flute which is perfectly tuned.